Have you ever wondered why some memories, though long gone, still make your heart ache when they return? Some stories seem to have ended, yet just a single image, a sound, or a passing word can bring the sadness back as if it had never disappeared. We often carry the past like a heavy backpack on our shoulders, walking wearily, without realizing that this very burden keeps us from touching peace. In the Buddha's teachings, letting go of the past does not mean erasing it completely, nor does it mean denial or rejection. Letting go means learning to accept, to look back with mindfulness, and then to smile as you release it. It is the moment when you stop allowing old wounds to bleed in your heart, and instead transform them into a lesson, a step toward maturity. The past exists only as long as we continue to hold it in our minds. When we let go, we truly open the door to healing. Do you realize that in the very present moment, when we are still and no longer clinging, peace appears immediately, not in yesterday, nor in tomorrow, only now right here. Welcome to Buddhism Seeds, a place where we listen, reflect, and discover lessons that nurture the soul. If you find these sharings meaningful, please subscribe, leave a comment, or share them with your loved ones so the seeds of peace may be planted in many places. And now, let us begin the journey into the Buddha's teachings on the art of letting go of the past, the path that opens to healing and true freedom. Part 1. Freedom begins when you put down the past. Have you ever asked yourself why you always feel tired even when you are not doing anything strenuous? Why your shoulders always feel as if something is pressing down, making it hard to breathe, hard to smile, hard to enjoy life? Often, the reason is not work, not external pressure, but what you are carrying inside. I want to tell you that the past is often like a heavy stone on your shoulders. Imagine a traveler walking a long road, always carrying a large stone on his shoulders. At first, he thinks he can bear it, but the longer he walks, the stiffer his shoulders become, the slower his steps, the heavier his breath. Eventually, even taking one more step becomes unbearable. You are the same. When you keep holding on to the past, whether sadness, regret, or memories that once caused you pain, your present will only become more exhausting. One day, a man came to a Zen master and said, "Master, I lack nothing, but why can't I feel happy?" The master quietly looked into the man's eyes. In them, he saw an invisible burden. It was like a large stone he was clinging to. That stone might have been a broken relationship, a mistake at work, or a family tragedy. Though his body lived in the present, his mind kept pulling him back into yesterday. Wherever he went, whatever he did, he carried that stone with him. And so, there was no space for peace and happiness to grow in this very moment. Think about it. If both of your hands are full, holding a heavy bag, do you have room to receive a fresh flower or a surprise gift? When your heart is crowded with regret and resentment, how can there be space for new joy to enter? Clinging blinds us to new opportunities because our eyes only look backward while our hearts remain locked by old memories. Isn't it strange that people often remember very clearly what has hurt them, but rarely remember for long what once made them happy? A harsh word can stay with you for decades. A single failure can be remembered for a lifetime. Meanwhile, a warm hug or a sincere smile often fades away unnoticed. That is why we so often feel heavy, because we choose to hold on to what is heavy while letting go of what is light. But only when you let go can you create space for happiness, Picture yourself setting down the stone. Not only do your shoulders feel light, but your feet are free, your steps relaxed. Inside your heart, once you dare to release the memories, peace will return like a cool breeze. Letting go does not mean denying the past. It means acknowledging that it has passed and giving yourself permission to live on. I know some will ask, if I let go, will I forget? I want to tell you, letting go is not forgetting. Letting go means you still remember, but remember with a different state of mind. You remember without being bound, without feeling pain. It is like looking at a scar on your skin. The scar reminds you that you were once hurt, but it no longer causes pain. It is simply a mark, a lesson. If you refuse to let go, you are like someone walking through a flower garden, but staring only at the stone dragging at your feet. All around are colors and fragrances, but you do not see them because your mind is consumed by the burden. In contrast, when you dare to set the stone down, you can finally lift your head, look at the sky, smile at a wildflower by the path, or simply take a deep breath and feel your heart grow light. I remember someone once asked a Zen master, "I cannot forget the one who hurt me." The master smiled and replied, "You do not need to forget, but you can choose not to let that memory hurt you anymore. The past has already passed. It no longer exists except in your mind. When you stop touching the old wound, it will heal by itself. And when you stop clutching that stone, your shoulders will feel light again." Ask yourself over the years, what stones have you been carrying? Is it anger toward a loved one? Regret over a wrong decision? Or resentment for what you believe life has taken from you? All of these, if you do not let them go, will become chains. But if you put them down, they will turn into lessons. Then the past is no longer a burden, but a teacher. Try imagining just once that today you let go of every stone in your heart. How would you live? Would the sky look bluer, the sunlight warmer, and each step feel lighter? Let the past rest so the present has a chance to shine. Because only when you let go do you truly make space for happiness to enter. When I say the past is like a heavy stone on your shoulders, you may nod because you yourself have felt it. But perhaps you have never sat down to look closely. What is that stone? And why do we keep holding it? Sometimes that stone is a sad memory. You once placed your full trust in someone and were betrayed. You once hoped for a job and failed. You once dreamed of a home and it fell apart. Those things are over, yet their echoes still ring in your heart like a bell that hasn't stopped. You think you've grown stronger, but at the slightest reminder, your tears still fall. Sometimes that stone is self-blame. You're tormented because you didn't treat your parents better while they were alive. You regret a thoughtless word that hurt a loved one. You blame yourself for missing opportunities, for lacking the courage to do what needed to be done. And so day after day, you reopen that wound and turn it into chains that imprison you in remorse. Sometimes that stone is anger. You're angry at the person who hurt you, at unfair circumstances, at a life that feels too harsh. You carry that anger to bed, to the dinner table, and to work. Gradually, the anger becomes part of you, weighing down your heart and leaving no room for peace. You see that stone is not only a memory, it is everything you refuse to release. The more tightly you hold it, the more exhausted you become. Do you realize that by clinging to the past, you've lost many joys of the present? Some people are so busy blaming themselves for a mistake that when a new opportunity comes, they no longer trust themselves to seize it. Others are so busy resenting someone who left that they cannot open their hearts to new love. In this way, you unintentionally let the stone of the past block the happiness knocking at your door. I remember a short story. A traveler carried a bag full of stones. Another person asked, "Why carry so much weight?" He replied, "Because I think I might need them." The other shook his head. "Can't you see? They're exhausting you. Those stones won't help you go farther. They'll only stop you midway." It sounds naive, but it mirrors our state of mind. How many times have you believed that holding on to memories would keep you safe or prevent future mistakes? In truth, it only weighs you down and drains the strength you need to enjoy the present. My friend, the past has already passed. No matter how many times you replay it in your mind, it does not change. Yet each time you recall it in suffering, you relive that pain once more. A wound may occur only once, but if you keep holding on, you make it bleed every day. And that is what robs your present life of its natural peace. Look up at the sky. Dark clouds may cover it for a while, but the wind will blow and the clouds will part. If the sky knows how to release the clouds, why can't you release the past? If nature moves by the law of change, why cling so tightly to what is already worn and old? If you ask, "But if I let go, am I afraid I'll forget what's important?" I would tell you, no, letting go is not forgetting. Letting go means you still remember, but you remember without pain. Letting go is when the past becomes a lesson, not chains that bind you. Think about a scar on your body. You know you were once hurt once in pain, but the scar no longer torments you. It simply reminds you that you have become stronger. It does not make you suffer more. That is the meaning of letting go. You may ask, how do I know I'm clinging to the past? It's simple. Look at your present. If you're often tired, quick to anger, unable to feel joy in small things, that's a sign you're carrying a heavy stone. When your mind is busy with the past, there's no space left to receive the joy of the present. A woman once confided to me that she always felt life was unfair. She lost her husband early and raised her child alone. Every day she thought about those hard years and asked, why has fate been so cruel to me? That obsession kept her from seeing the love around her and the joy of her child growing up. She lived, but inside the shadow of the past. Only when she dared to face and put down her resentment did she realize how many chances for happiness she had missed. You see, happiness is not far away. It is always present in the here and now, but to notice it, you must put down old burdens. Like a cramped house that needs to be cleared to let in more light, your heart is the same. When you clear out regret, anger, and resentment, the light of peace naturally pours in. Ask yourself, just once, if today were my last day, would I want to carry all these burdens from the past? I believe your answer would be no. So, why carry them today, tomorrow, and for all the years to come? There is an old saying, when the heart lets go, the world lets go. If you release within, the world around you becomes lighter too. Then your loved ones seem more lovable. Work feels less pressured, and even a sudden rain becomes a gift from the sky. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is to regain. When you set the stone down, you regain light shoulders, an easy stride, and a clear smile. When you stop looking back, you will see a new door opening right in front of you. And when you dare to say, I choose to live in the present, the past becomes a background, no longer chains. Let me repeat once more. The past is like a heavy stone on your shoulders. The more tightly you cling, the more tired the present becomes. Attachment keeps you from seeing new opportunities. Only by letting go do you create space for happiness. And this is not some distant theory. It is a reality you can experience in this very moment if you dare to try setting the stone down. So right now, are you ready to put down your stone? Part 2. The bamboo in the storm. Bending but not breaking. The wisdom of letting go. I want to tell you a very familiar story, but every time it is recalled, it feels like a fresh reminder. It is the story of the bamboo in the storm. That day, the sky was clear and bright. A whole forest of bamboo stretched endlessly green and full of life. The slender stalks stood tall, swaying gently in the breeze. The sound of bamboo leaves brushing against each other created a soft, soothing melody like nature whispering. The entire forest looked like a vast green sea tender, yet proud, stretching to the horizon. Then one afternoon, dark clouds suddenly gathered. The sky grew dim. The first gusts of wind blew through, carrying heavy dampness. Birds scattered, searching for shelter, while the bamboo forest began to tremble with each passing gust. The storm arrived quickly without warning. The wind roared and howled violently. Rain poured down in torrents, striking the slender bamboo stalks with harsh force. The entire bamboo grove swayed wildly. At times, the stalks bent so low they nearly touched the ground as if about to snap. But strangely, not a single stalk broke. They simply bent, yielding to the direction of the wind, flexible enough to receive each fierce gust. When the wind blew from the east, the forest leaned westward. When the wind shifted from the west, the entire forest bent eastward. They were like a rolling green ocean, bowing to each wave of the storm. That night, the sound of wind rain and bamboo striking against each other created a chaotic symphony. Yet amid the storm, the bamboo did not resist the wind, nor did it break out of stubbornness. It simply loosened bent and yielded only to rise tall again once the gusts had passed. Hours went by. The storm tested the endurance of the entire forest. Around it, mighty trees with strong trunks were uprooted and broken, but the bamboo, seemingly fragile and weak, stood firm. They did not break. They survived upright after the storm. When dawn arrived, sunlight shone down once more. Raindrops glistened on the bamboo leaves like crystal. The stalks stood tall again, green and fresh as if no storm had ever come. The bamboo forest returned to its peace, but hidden within that peace was a new strength. That strength did not come from rigidity, but from flexibility. Bamboo did not need to fight the wind to prove its power. It knew how to bend, how to yield, how to loosen. And because of this, it endured the storm. At first glance, this may seem like nothing more than an image of nature. But when told in detail, you can feel clearly that the bamboo in the storm lived, breathed, swayed, and stood resilient in its own way. Not loud, not defiant, but quietly enduring. Strength, born of softness. From that day on, each time the wind rises, the bamboo continues its story. It reminds the world that not all hardness endures. Sometimes, it is softness that carries us through the storms. This story is simple, yet if you listen with your heart, you will sense a profound wisdom about how we live, face adversity, and find peace even when storms surround us. Picture a green bamboo forest. The stalks are slender, not as tall as great trees, not as proud as ancient oaks. Yet, when the storm comes with wind, howling and rain pouring, the bamboo does not break. It only bends, leaning with the wind, and when the storm passes, it stands tall again, as if nothing had happened. You see, the bamboo's strength does not come from being rigid, but from being flexible. It knows how to bend, how to loosen, how to yield before the force of the wind. And that is what allows it to survive, to endure the storm, and to rise again even stronger. If you look back at your own life, haven't you also faced storms like that? Maybe a storm in your family when relationships broke apart. Maybe a storm at work when failure left you feeling like you had no place left. Maybe a storm in your heart when fear, anger, and resentment made you want to give up. These storms did not come from nature, but from life and from within. So how do you choose to go through them? Will you be rigid, resisting everything, only to snap when the pressure grows too strong? Or will you be like the bamboo, knowing how to bend, how to stay flexible in order to survive? I want to tell you that sometimes real strength is not in fierce resistance, but in the ability to loosen. When you are too rigid, too attached, you break easily when adversity exceeds your limits. But when you are soft and adaptable, you can endure and one day stand tall again. Have you ever met someone who lived in bitterness for life because of a single misfortune they could not accept, could not let go, and so their life became like a broken tree that never revived? On the other hand, there are those who also experience pain and loss, but they knew how to bow, how to accept, how to loosen. They cried, they suffered, but then they stood up, kept living, and from there, they became stronger. Do you see? The bamboo teaches us a lesson. Strength comes from flexibility. Those who know how to adapt, who know how to loosen in the face of adversity, are the ones who make it to the end of the road. In Buddhism, we call this letting go of attachment. Letting go is not giving up or neglecting, but loosening what cannot be held. Letting go is the path of survival and renewal. Ask yourself, are you clinging too tightly to something? Maybe to your own opinion, believing you are right and others wrong. Maybe to the past, thinking it defines your worth today. Maybe to your pain holding on as proof that you are a victim. All of these attachments, if not released, will turn you into a rigid tree, easily broken by life's winds. Do you know why water flows endlessly? Because it is soft. Why bamboo survives storm after storm? Because it bends. And why people can find peace? Because they learn to let go of attachment. If you keep holding everything too tightly, you will exhaust yourself. But when you learn to loosen, you will discover a new source of strength within. One time, I met a woman. She had lost her child in an accident, and that pain seemed to have taken all life out of her. For many years, she lived in torment, blaming fate, blaming others, and then blaming herself. She fought. She tried to appear strong, but the more she resisted, the more broken she became inside. Only when she learned to accept the truth that her child was gone, that she could not change it, did she begin to loosen. She cried, but within her tears, she gradually found peace again. She told me, when I was able to let go, I finally realized my child was still in my heart, but no longer as chains. I began to live again. Do you see? That is bamboo in the storm. Not without pain, not without bending, but bending so as not to break. My friend, life will always have storms. You cannot expect the sky to always be clear, or the winds to always be gentle, but you can choose how you face them. You can choose to be a rigid tree that breaks, or a bamboo stalk that bends but still rises after the storm. When you let go of attachment, you will find that you can endure all hardship. And not only endure, you can be renewed. You will learn profound lessons. You will become stronger, more peaceful, and more grateful for life. Let me remind you once again, Bamboo bends before the wind, but does not break. Strength comes from flexibility. By being adaptable, by loosening in adversity, you will discover new life. Letting go of attachment is the path of survival and renewal. So, are you ready to become the bamboo in the storm of your own life? When I share the story of the bamboo in the storm, perhaps something within you feels familiar. Because somewhere in your own life, you too have been through such storms. Maybe not storms outside, but storms within your heart, storms in your family, storms in relationships, and you have bent sometimes nearly to the point of breaking. But if you are still here listening, it means you are still standing, still surviving, even if your heart carries scars. What bamboo teaches us is not only the flexibility of its stalk, but also a philosophy of life. Imagine if bamboo insisted on staying rigid, never bending, just one strong gust would shatter it. But because it knows how to yield, it has survived countless storms, still green, still reaching upward. Your life is the same. If you cling too tightly to rigidity, refusing to let go, you will easily break under hardship. But if you are flexible, if you can bow when needed, let go when it is time, you will endure, and then rise again. Someone once asked a Zen master, "I cannot bear it anymore. Each time I face difficulty, I feel as if I am about to break." The master gently replied, "Why do you think you must resist everything? Have you ever tried loosening?" The person was surprised, but master isn't loosening the same as giving up. The master smiled with kindness in his eyes. No, loosening is not surrender. Loosening is how you protect yourself. Like the bamboo, it knows how to lean with the wind, but it never breaks. And that is true strength. In life, we often think that being strong means resisting to the very end, never stepping back. But have you realized that sometimes stepping back allows us to survive longer? When you argue with a loved one, if you insist on winning, the relationship cracks. But if you listen, if you yield a little, you preserve the bond and keep the peace. When you face failure, if you only resent it, stubbornly denying it, you remain trapped. But if you accept it, learn from it, you have the chance to rise again. Do you see bamboo is never afraid of the wind? It knows the wind is part of nature. It does not resent the wind, nor does it try to push it away. It simply yields, and when the wind passes, it returns to itself. We can learn the same. Adversity is part of life. You cannot hope for endless sunshine, but you can learn to move through storms without breaking. Once I met an elderly man in his 70s. He had lived through war loss, illness, and even family failures. I asked, "How have you kept such calmness in your eyes?" He smiled. "I learned to be like bamboo. When the wind comes, I bend. When the wind goes, I stand again. That's how I live." In that answer was the wisdom of a lifetime shaped by letting go. My dear friend, when we cling, we turn ourselves into dry wood. Clinging to the past, we lose the present. Clinging to being right or wrong, we lose compassion. Clinging to loss, we cannot see what we still have. Clinging to pain, we overlook small joys. And so we tie ourselves to the storm instead of passing through it. Letting go of attachment does not mean neglect, nor does it mean weakness. It is the courage to say, "I will not let adversity define me." It is how you survive, and not just survive, but grow stronger. Remember, bamboo in the storm does not break because it knows how to bend. You can be the same. When hardships come, instead of asking, "Why me?" you can ask, "What can I learn from this?" When someone hurts you, instead of holding on to anger, You can ask, if I forgive, how much lighter will I feel? When you fail, instead of clinging to regret, you can put it down and keep moving forward. Haven't you seen people who shine brighter after adversity? It's because they learn to let go. Some rebuild happiness after heartbreak. Some find success after failure. And it all begins because they did not break. They bent, and then they rose again. I want you to remember this. You cannot stop the storm from coming, but you can choose how to stand in it. You can be a rigid tree that breaks, or a bamboo stalk that bends, flexible and unbroken when the storm passes. The true strength of life does not lie in never falling, but in rising after you fall. It does not lie in never crying, but in wiping your tears and smiling again. It does not lie in never facing storms, but in walking through them with a heart that still carries faith. The story of the bamboo and the storm is not just a picture of nature. It is a mirror for you, for me, for all of us. Bamboo has lived this way for thousands of years, and we too can learn from it. Because only when you know how to let go of attachment can you survive, and only when you are flexible can you be renewed. Part 3. The true meaning of letting go. Accept, learn, and move forward. When it comes to letting go, many people often misunderstand it. Some think letting go means erasing everything, wiping away all traces of the past. Others mistake letting go for indifference, denial, or abandonment. But the truth is not that. If you want to truly understand and practice letting go, you must see it with a different eye, gentler and deeper. I want to walk slowly with you so we can truly understand the meaning of letting go. Because if you misunderstand, you will try to forget, and the more you try, the more you remember. If you misunderstand, you will deny, and the more you deny, the more present the pain becomes. But if you understand correctly, you will see that letting go is not about losing. It is about learning to see differently. Have you ever felt this way? You want to forget a painful memory. And the more you tell yourself, I must forget, the clearer it becomes in your mind. The more you push it away, the more it stays. That is how the human mind works. Whatever you try hardest to deny clings even tighter. It is like trying to push a ball underwater. The harder you press, the stronger it bounces back. That is why letting go cannot mean erasing. Letting go is changing the way you look at that memory. Letting go is also not denial. Some things have happened, you cannot deny them. If you pretend they never existed, you are only deceiving yourself. And when something triggers those memories, the pain rushes back even stronger because you never truly faced it. Letting go does not mean turning your back. It means daring to look directly and then softly saying, it has been part of my life. And letting go does not mean drowning in it either. Some people say they want to let go, yet every day they repeat the past, living in victimhood, in blame. That is not letting go, that is chaining themselves tighter. Letting go means accepting the past as a part of your life, no more, no less. Not exaggerating, not denying, simply seeing it as it is. You see, your life is like a book. Each day is a new page. The past is the pages already written. You cannot tear them out, nor can you rewrite them. But you can choose how to read them. You can read with hatred, blame, and self-inflicted pain. Or you can read with peace, with clarity, and see, that page has ink stains, but it is part of the story of my life. When you know how to accept, that book becomes a journey, not a chain. Letting go is knowing how to take the lesson from the past and then move forward. You do not deny what has happened, but you do not let it define who you are today. You let the past become a teacher, not a jailer. You say to yourself, I went through it, I learned, and now I choose to move on. Think about a wound you once had. At first it hurt, maybe even bled. But over time, it healed, leaving a scar. The scar does not hurt anymore. It simply reminds you that you were once injured, but you survived. The past is the same. When you haven't let go, it is like a wound, still open, touch it, and it hurts sharply. But when you let go, it becomes a scar you still remember, but with calmness, no longer tormented. Do you see letting go is an art of seeing, not erasing, not denying, but looking back with a different attitude. When you change the way you look, you change the way you live. I know some will ask, but how can I accept the past when it hurts too much? I want to tell you, this pain is real, but you have the right to choose how to see it. If you keep seeing it as a sentence, you will live your whole life imprisoned. But if you see it as a lesson, you will realize you have grown. You will even feel grateful to the past for teaching you what no book could. Think about someone who once hurt you. You can resent them forever, but resentment will not make you happier. You can also deny it ever happened, but deep down, you know it did. Only when you accept, yes, they did this, it is over. What can I learn from it? Only then can you truly let go. Letting go does not mean becoming cold or uncaring. On the contrary, letting go sets you free so you can love even more. Because when you are chained by hatred, you cannot open your heart to love. When you are bound by the past, you cannot live fully in the present. Letting go is not erasing. Letting go is not denial. Letting go is not drowning. Letting go is acceptance, learning, and moving forward. That is the true meaning of letting go. You can ask yourself, today, what am I still holding on to? Am I trying to forget, but only remembering more? Am I denying, but only hurting more? Am I drowning, but only losing freedom? If the answer is yes, then it is time to try looking in a new way. Allow the past to rest. Look at it with calm eyes and see that it is only one part of your long journey. And when you can do that, you will see a new path open before you, the path of freedom, of peace, of happiness. Imagine someone who has lost a loved one. If you tell them, just forget, it is nearly impossible. A loved one was flesh and blood filled with memories. How can you forget? But if you say, let that loss become motivation to live better, then they can do it. Letting go here does not mean erasing the existence of the one who passed away, but holding the memory with a calmer heart. A woman once told me that after her husband died, she lived many years in tears. Each time she saw his old clothes, each time she heard a familiar song, her heart ached. She thought she would never be happy again. Until one day, she realized surely her husband would not want her to suffer like this. From that day, she stopped trying to forget, and instead chose to remember differently. She held on to those memories as part of her life, but no longer let them bring her down. That is letting go. You see, letting go does not mean wiping memories from your mind. The memories remain, but you see them in a new light. You remember without being hurt. You hold them without being chained. Some people had painful childhoods. They thought that to be happy, they must deny it all. So they pretended nothing had happened. They built a strong shell, tried to appear normal. But the more they denied, the more they hurt. Because buried memories do not disappear. They only lie deep in the mind, and from time to time, they resurface, causing sudden crises. Letting go does not mean turning your face away as if nothing ever happened. On the contrary, letting go requires the courage to look directly. You must dare to face the memory, dare to touch the pain, and only then can healing begin. If you do not accept it, the wound will never close. You can picture this like a wound on your skin. If you pretend it does not exist, if you don't care for it or clean it, it will become infected. But if you dare to look, dare to wash it, dare to acknowledge it is there, then it has the chance to heal. Some people say they cannot let go because every day they still remember, still repeat the past. But my friend, repeating it in resentment is not letting go. That is how you tie yourself tighter with the rope. The more you tell it, the deeper you dig, and the more the wound bleeds. A man once confided to me that his wife had left the family. For 10 years, every single day, he told his friends about that pain, about that betrayal. He thought that speaking of it was letting go, but in truth, he was only imprisoning himself in the past. Only when he stopped, when he no longer wanted to retell it, but chose instead to take the lesson for his future, did he finally feel light again. Letting go is not drowning yourself in pain to prove how much you suffer. Letting go is stopping so the pain does not continue to stretch on. Imagine life as a great mosaic. Each piece is a memory. Some pieces shine brightly, others are dark and sorrowful, but all of them are necessary for the picture to be complete. You cannot choose only the bright pieces and discard the dark ones. If you do, the picture will never be whole. Your past is the same. Some memories bring a smile, others bring tears. But together, they shape who you are today. If you deny part of it, you will never fully understand yourself. But if you accept it all, you will see yourself as more whole, more complete. Acceptance does not mean enjoying the pain. Acceptance means acknowledging the truth. That happened. It is part of my life. I cannot erase it, but I can choose how to live with it. The most important thing in letting go is not leaving it behind. It is moving forward. The past only has meaning when it teaches you something. If you only hold on to it to grieve, you waste it. But if you take the lesson, you transform pain into a teacher. There was once a man who went bankrupt in business, and at first, he sank into despair. But instead of letting that failure crush him, he sat down, analyzed, and learned. He took lessons from that very failure and started again. The second time, he succeeded brilliantly. Without the initial collapse, he would not have matured enough to achieve what came later. That is the deeper meaning of letting go. You take the lesson and then move forward. You do not let the past chain you down, you let it become a stepping stone. Think of letting go like carrying a backpack. Inside are the stones of your past. The farther you go, the more exhausted you become. If you try to forget, you strain yourself, but the backpack is still there. If you deny it, you pretend not to carry it, but your shoulders still ache. If you drown in it, you sit down, clutch the backpack, and can no longer move. Only when you dare to open the backpack, take out the stones, look at them, learn from them, and put them down. Only then can you continue your journey lightly. Understanding the true meaning of letting go is the key to breaking free from the cycle of suffering. Letting go is not forgetting, but seeing differently. Letting go is not denial, but facing it. Letting go is not drowning, but stopping. Letting go is accepting the past as part of your life, taking the lesson and moving forward. And when you truly understand this, your heart will feel as light as drifting clouds, as peaceful as a gentle breeze. You will realize the past is no longer a burden, but part of the luggage that helps you grow. And ahead of you, the road to happiness is always wide open. Part 4. Turning wounds into healing. The Buddhist path to inner strength. In life, none of us can avoid wounds. Some wounds appear on the body, but others lie deep in the soul. It may be a careless word, a betrayal, a loss, or an unexpected event that pierces your heart. Have you ever felt that the pain was so great, so heavy, that you could not stand up again? I believe every one of us has been through such moments. But what I want to share with you today is this: every pain is an opportunity to grow. You may ask, how can pain be an opportunity? Because it is in the darkest times that you discover the light of inner strength. If life were always smooth, you might never learn resilience, compassion, or maturity. Only by walking through wounds can you truly understand yourself and life more deeply. Think back to the first time you were truly hurt. Maybe it was when you lost someone you loved. Maybe it was when you were betrayed by the person you trusted most. Maybe it was when you lost everything in a sudden event. At that moment, the pain was so sharp, it felt like you could not even breathe. But then time passed. You kept living, kept walking, even if more slowly, with a heavier heart. And then at some point, you realized that very wound taught you how to love more deeply, how to empathize more with the pain of others. When we dare to look directly at our wounds, that is when healing begins. Many of us have the habit of running away. When we hurt, we want to forget to fill the emptiness with work, entertainment, or fleeting pleasures. But you know, the more you avoid it, the more the wound lingers silently inside, growing larger. It is like a wound on the body. If you don't dare to touch it, to clean it, it will become infected. The soul is the same. Only when you are brave enough to face it can healing begin. I know this is not easy. Looking at old pain may bring tears. But my friend, those tears are medicine. When you dare to touch the wound, dare to name it, dare to face it, each tear becomes a cleansing drop. That is the first step out of the darkness. And then something miraculous happens. You begin to learn forgiveness. Forgiving others is also forgiving yourself. Because have you noticed often, the person who hurt you may have long forgotten, yet you keep holding it in your heart. The one who suffers the most is not them, it is you. Forgiving does not mean approving of their mistake. It means you choose not to let that mistake continue to imprison you. Forgiveness is not easy, but if you see it as a gift to yourself, you will find it worth doing. Forgive so your heart can be lighter, so you can smile again, so you can move forward without being dragged back by resentment. When a wound heals, it leaves a scar. You may look at the scar and still remember what happened, but instead of seeing it as a burden, you can see it as a mark of strength. The scar says, I once suffered, but I overcame it. It no longer makes you collapse. It becomes proof of your resilience. Have you noticed that people who have walked through storms carry a special peace about them? They are not easily angered, nor do they judge quickly, because pain taught them understanding. Scars taught them patience, and healing taught them how to treasure happiness in every moment. I once met a man who told me he had lost everything after a major bankruptcy. For a time, he resented life, even thought of ending everything. But one day, looking into the innocent eyes of his small child, he awakened he could not stay collapsed forever. From that moment, he he found the courage to face failure. He looked directly at what had happened, drew lessons for himself, and stood up again. Years later, he rebuilt his career and found success once more. But this time, he was no longer hurried or overly ambitious. He lived more calmly, more content, and appreciated the simple things in life. He told me with a gentle smile, "If not for that wound, I might never have learned how to live as fully as I do today." My dear friend, every wound can heal. The question is, how will you walk through it? Will you choose resentment, blame, and let it weigh on you for a lifetime? Or will you choose to face it, forgive, and let it become strength? The answer is in your hands. Picture a tree in winter. Its leaves are gone, its branches bare, looking dead. But deep inside, life is still flowing. Your wound is the same. Even when you feel empty, there is still strength within waiting for the day of renewal. When spring comes, the tree blossoms again. And when the time is right, your wound too will heal and bloom in its own way. Or think of a cracked piece of pottery. In Japan, there is an art called kintsugi. They mend cracks with gold, making the piece more unique, more beautiful. Your wounds can be the same. They do not make you less. They can transform you into someone deeper, kinder, and more whole. Life never promises that you will not be hurt, but life always gives you the chance to heal. Every pain is an opportunity to grow. When you dare to face the wound, that is when healing begins. When you learn to forgive others, you are also forgiving yourself. And when wounds become scars, you will see them as marks of strength, no longer as burdens. So today, if you still carry a wound in your heart, ask yourself, am I ready to let this become part of my strength? If your answer is yes, then in this very moment, healing has already begun. Part 5. Living fully in the present. The doorway to peace and freedom. In life, we are often pulled in two directions. One side is the past that is already gone. The other is the future that has not yet arrived. Between these two poles, we forget the present, the only place where we are truly alive. Have you ever noticed this? Many times, your body is here, but your mind is not. Either you are caught up in old memories, or you are busy worrying about what is to come. And in that very moment, you lose the present, the precious moment you could be living fully. The past is gone. No matter how many times you recall it, no matter how much you regret or torment yourself over it, you cannot bring it back. What happened, whether joyful or sad, successful or failed, has already become fixed. There is no way to erase it and no way to change it. Yet people often dwell on the past, as if the more they think, the more they will find an answer. In truth, the more they think, the deeper they sink into regret and sorrow. Some people torment themselves daily over a harsh word they once said years ago. Some endlessly regret a wrong decision at work. Some continue to live in the shadow of a broken relationship. They carry these regrets like a heavy stone on their shoulders, burdening every step. And so each day feels like reliving yesterday, while the present passes by unnoticed. And what about the future? Though it has not yet come, our minds never stop imagining hundreds of scenarios. You worry about what has not happened, about situations that may never occur. You create one scenario after another, trapping yourself in anxiety. Sometimes you worry for months, even years, only to find that when events finally happen, they are nothing like you imagine. Yet during all that time of worry, you have lost the present, the moments that could have brought you peace. Ask yourself, how many times Have you feared the worst, only for it never to happen? How many times have you been tense over a meeting, a test, or an event, and later realized you wasted so much time worrying? The future is always uncertain, and because of that, it always unsettles us. But if we spend our lives fearing what has not yet come, we will miss what is right here. Do you see? Only the present is where life truly happens. You breathe here, you smile here, you love here. The past is gone. The future has not arrived. Only this moment truly belongs to you. But if your mind is not here, you will not recognize its value. You will live like a passenger on a speeding train, eyes fixed on the station behind or the one ahead, without ever seeing the beautiful scenery outside the window. The present is a gift, the most precious treasure. Yet people so often overlook it. We chase what has been lost. We grasp at what has not yet come, and we miss the moment right in the palm of our hand. When your mind rests in mindfulness, that is when you are truly free. Freedom does not mean you have no responsibilities or difficulties. Freedom does not mean you escape all the conditions of life. Freedom here means your mind is no longer dragged backward into the past, nor pushed forward into the future. It rests in this moment, in the here and now. And in that state, you feel a lightness, like a cool stream flowing through your heart. You can sit quietly, take a deep breath, and feel the air coming in and going out. You can hear the birds outside the window, see the flower in front of you, feel the beat of your own heart. All of it is happening now. And only when your mind is truly present can you see the wonder in it. The present is the doorway to peace and happiness. Many people search for happiness everywhere, in money, in status, in love, in fame. They think happiness lies somewhere far away in some condition that must be achieved. But happiness is not far. It exists right here in this moment, if only you know how to pause, appreciate, and live fully. You can find happiness in a warm hug, in a simple meal, in a child's laughter, in a quiet afternoon of sunlight. But if your mind is lost in what is past or what has not yet come, you will never touch that happiness. Imagine drinking a cup of tea. If your mind is stuck on yesterday, regretting what you lost, or worrying about tomorrow, you may finish the whole cup without ever tasting it. But if you pause, take a small sip, feel the warmth spread, notice the gentle aroma that is happiness, simple yet profound. Living in the present does not mean forgetting the past or ignoring the future. The past is your teacher. The future is your hope. But only the present is where you truly live. Let the past rest. Let the future unfold, and live fully in this moment. For this is the doorway to peace, to freedom, and to true happiness. Picture yourself carrying 2 bags on your shoulders. One bag is full of past memories, mistakes, sorrows, regrets. The other is full of worries. For the future, fears, assumptions, uncertainties. With each step, the weight pulls you down, leaving you weary. But if you dare to set them down, your shoulders will feel light and you can walk freely. Or think of a river. The water always flows, never reversing, never standing still forever. If you keep staring at the water that has already passed, you will not see the drop before your eyes. If you only long for the drop in the distance, you will miss the cool freshness of the drop right beside you. The present is the same. A mother constantly thinks of the past times when her child was disobedient, moments when she scolded too harshly. She carries that sorrow, and when her child sits before her, she cannot smile in peace. A father constantly worries about the future. Will my child study? well, find a good job, be happy. He worries so much that when his child is right beside him, he does not truly listen. Both love their children, but because they are not in the present, their love is incomplete. Do you see yourself somewhere in these examples? Living fully in the present does not mean abandoning the past or the future. The past is your teacher. The future is your hope. But the key is not to let either take over your heart. Learn from the past, but don't imprison yourself there. Prepare for the future, but don't worry to the point of sleeplessness. Most importantly, savor the life you are living right now. Try once to sit down. Take a deep breath. Look at a flower before you hear the birds singing outside. Feel your heartbeat. In that very moment, you will sense a real peace. That is true happiness, requiring no waiting. Remember, the past is gone. The future has not yet come. Only the present is where life is lived. When your mind rests in mindfulness, you are truly free. The present is the doorway to peace and happiness. So from this moment on, try setting down the burdens of yesterday, let go of some worries for tomorrow, and live fully in today. You will realize peace has never been far. It has always been here in this very moment, just waiting for you to notice. Part 6. The Story of the Prisoner and the Key. Freedom begins when fear ends. There is a short story that carries a profound lesson about our own hearts. It is the story of the prisoner and the key. Perhaps as you hear it, you will recognize yourself in it. Long ago, in a faraway land, there was a man who lived an ordinary life much like everyone else. He was not wealthy, nor was he too poor. But one day, he suddenly found himself in a strange situation. He was locked inside a dark room. The room was small, its walls high smooth, cold and sealed. There were no windows, no trace of light coming in. Everything was swallowed in thick, suffocating darkness, so heavy he felt as if the space itself was pressing against his body. No matter how wide he opened his eyes, all he could see was pitch black. He could not tell where the wall ended or where the corners were. In that moment, fear flooded him. His heart pounded like a drum. His breath came fast and heavy, as if the very air in the room had thickened, making it hard to breathe. His hands trembled. Cold sweat broke out across his skin. Panic took hold, and he felt as if he would be trapped forever in this darkness. In his mind, heavy voices echoed. "It's over. There is no way out. I am locked away forever." The fear grew stronger. He could not sit still. He jumped up, using his hands and feet to grope along the cold walls. His fingers slid over the rough surface, searching desperately for an opening. He knocked hard, and hollow sounds echoed back. He struck the wall with force, his hands burning from the impact. But still, only silence answered him, the silence of solid, unyielding stone. Each circle around the room, each touch of the wall, filled him with more despair. No crack, no doorway. His heavy breathing turned into frantic screams, echoing in the black void. He cried out, calling for help, hoping someone would hear, but only his own voice returned cold and indifferent. He collapsed onto the hard ground, his shoulders trembling, sweat pouring from his brow, his clothes drenched. He sat clutching his head, feeling as if the world itself had collapsed around him. Despair tightened around his soul like a rope. "I will die here in this darkness," he whispered. Time passed, though he could not tell if it had been hours, days, or only a moment. In the dark, time seemed to stop. Exhausted, drained of energy, he no longer had the strength to scream or the will to keep fighting. He surrendered lying down on the cold ground. And then, in that very exhaustion, something strange happened. He sat quietly, his breath slowing. No more screaming, no more running, no more resistance. He allowed the darkness to be allowed his weariness to guide him. In that moment of letting go, his mind became a little calmer. It was then, in the heavy silence, that he heard a faint sound, so soft like a breeze slipping through a narrow gap. At first, he thought it was his imagination. He held his breath, listening. The sound remained a gentle current of air quietly flowing. He turned toward the sound. His hand trembled, but he reached out, groping through the dark. Step by step, his fingertips searched along the cold wall. Then suddenly his hand touched something different. Not hard stone, but a flat wooden surface. His heart froze. His hand shook as it traced the surface. Yes, wood. Smooth, unlike the chill of stone. Then he felt the edge and realized it was a door. He held his breath, heart pounding. His hand reached for the latch. He expected a lock, certain he could not open it. But when he pushed gently, the door was not locked. It had only been resting shut. With the lightest touch, the door opened and a flood of dazzling light poured into the dark room. The brightness was so strong he had to shut his eyes tight. His body shook, but this time from overwhelming joy. He stepped out, inhaling deeply. Air filled his lungs. Warm sunlight covered his body. He looked up and saw the vast blue sky stretching above him. Do you see? For so long he believed he was trapped, that there was no escape, that fate had locked him away in darkness. But the truth was, the door had never been locked. The prison existed only in his mind. The chains were never real. All the fear, the despair, the sense of helplessness were creations of his own mind. And only when he let go of fear, only when he stopped struggling and became still, did he discover the truth. Only when he grew calm did he find the door. And when he dared to push it, gently freedom was there waiting. Have you ever felt like that prisoner, believing you are trapped in a hopeless situation, that there is no way out, that your life is forever caged in darkness? But sometimes the truth is, the door has never been locked. Freedom has always been there, waiting for you to release your fear and step through. Often, the chains exist only in the mind. You think you are bound by the past, but the past exists only in memory. You think you are imprisoned by others, but in truth, you have not dared to forgive. You think you are trapped in failure, but in reality, the door to new opportunities still stands right before you. Why do we so often fail to see the way out? Because we are afraid. Afraid of mistakes, afraid of loss, afraid of pain, afraid of judgment. Fear blinds our eyes, keeping us from realizing that the door has always been open. Freedom begins when fear is released. When you dare to relax to be calm, you will see that the chains you thought held you are nothing but shadows in the mind. And when the light of mindfulness shines and all illusions dissolve. Imagine a child crying in the dark. The child is terrified, convinced that a monster is hiding under the bed. The fear makes the child tremble and keeps them from sleeping. But when the light is switched on, there is no monster at all. It was only fear in the child's mind. The prisoner in the story was the same. And we adults are often no different from that child. You may be so afraid of failure that you don't dare to begin. So afraid of being hurt that you don't dare to love. So afraid of loss that you don't dare to let go. But my friend, many of these fears are nothing more than a door left ajar. All it takes is one act of courage to push it open, and light will pour in. There is something very strange about life. When you let fear take hold of your heart, you make yourself a prisoner. This prison has no bars, no guards, yet it confines you more tightly than any wall could. Every anxious thought, every fear is like an invisible chain binding your soul, making you believe there is no escape. Remember the story of the prisoner in the dark room. For so long, he trembled, panicked, and believed the door was locked shut. He knocked, he struck, he screamed until he was exhausted. But it was only despair created by his own mind. And when he let go, when he finally stopped and breathed slowly, he discovered the truth. The door was never locked, only resting shut. He did not need a key from the outside. He only needed his own hands, a gentle push, and light flooded in. Freedom was there all along. Do you see freedom does not come from the outside world changing? The room and its walls never disappeared. What changed was his eyes, his mind. When fear was released, the darkness dissolved, and the door shone bright before him. And so it is with you. You don't need to wait for someone else to unlock your life. You don't need a savior to bring you a key. Everything you need is already within you. You can begin today with a deep breath, a moment of stillness, a small but powerful decision, the courage to release fear. And when you do, you will realize that freedom has never left you. It has always been there waiting for you to step out. If today you feel stuck, I want you to remember this story. Do not despair. Do not believe there is no way out. Perhaps the door is only resting shut, waiting for you to be calm enough to open it. Dare to face your fear. Dare to let it go. And when you do, you will see that freedom has never been far. It has always been there waiting for you. As we walk together through these stories, we come to a simple but profound truth. The prison of suffering we think we are trapped in is often only an illusion of the mind. The door has never been locked. The chains have never been real. We imprison ourselves in darkness through fear, confusion, and relentless thoughts. But we also hold the power to open freedom with just one breath, one moment of calm, one decision to let go. When you live in fear, every step feels heavy. Every day feels bound. But when you dare to release that burden, the sky opens wide before you. You realize that freedom does not come from a perfect life, but from a heart that knows how to let go and rest in the present moment. The story of the prisoner and the door ajar reminds you sometimes to find the light. You don't need to go far. You only need to return to yourself, to listen within, and you will see the door has always been there waiting for you to open it. And when the light pours in, you will know that freedom has never left you, not for a single moment. I hope that by hearing this, you have felt a gentle breeze in your heart, a small light shining inside. Do not chase after the past. Do not worry too much about the future. Be brave enough to step out of the dark room in your mind, and you will rediscover the peace that has always been yours. If this sharing has touched your heart, we invite you to join us on the journey of planting seeds of compassion and wisdom. Please subscribe to Buddhism Seeds so you won't miss the stories and teachings that can uplift your soul. Don't forget to share this video with those who might also need a source of light. And we would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell us what you discovered for yourself after listening. Happiness is never far away. It is right there where you release fear, where you open the door within. And we believe that you deserve to step out and live in freedom and peace.